Hey, Vineyard Boise. Thank you so much for sending in all of your questions this week about this last week's message, as well as our series in Revelation. They've been awesome. This next Sunday, during the message, Pastor Trevor is going to be addressing a few of the questions that came in, specifically about Christian sexuality in today's culture. So you don't want to miss that upcoming message this Sunday. The question I want to answer today and respond to is, why does Jesus describe his voice and words as a sword? And what would it mean for him to wage war against someone with his voice or his words? That's such an important question, because if we misunderstand this picture, if we misunderstand this image, we misunderstand who Jesus is revealing himself as in the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 2, verses 12 through 16, Jesus introduces himself to the church in Pergamum as the one who has the sharp, double-edged sword. And that image was not random. You see, Pergamum was the regional Roman capital for Asia, Asia Minor. The governor there held what was called the right of the sword, meaning the governor had the authority to execute whomever they wanted. So, when Jesus claims to hold the sword, he's making a very bold statement. He's saying, ultimate authority does not belong to Rome, rather it belongs to him. New Testament scholars point out that Revelation consistently subverts the imperial power of Rome. Rome claims authority through violence. Jesus claims authority through his word. And that leads to the second part of the image. The sword comes from his mouth, not his hand. And that matters because throughout Revelation and in passages like Isaiah chapter 11 also, the Messiah judges by speaking. His word exposes reality. His word reveals what's true. It separates out what's true and what's false, right from wrong. And so I want to emphasize that this sword is not a literal weapon here. It represents Jesus' judicial authority, his truth-speaking power to judge and purify his church. So when Jesus says, repent, and if not, I'll come to you and wage war against them with the sword of my mouth, he's not threatening some arbitrary violence against the church here. He's warning of covenantal confrontation. In Pergamum, there was compromise in multiple areas, as we discussed on Sunday. Likely participation in idolatrous practices in worship, practices that were tied to emperor worship. There was also false teaching that had weaved its way into the church, and sexual immorality. And Jesus is saying here, if you will not repent, I will oppose what is corrupting you from the inside and make war against it. That war looks like exposure, opening up. It looks like discipline. It looks like truth cutting through self-deception. And here's what makes this so powerful in Revelation. The one who bears the sword is also the slain lamb. The judge is the crucified one. Jesus conquers the world the same way he conquered at the cross, not by shedding others' blood, but by his faithful witness and his sacrificial love. So, his war is not like Rome's war. This violence is not like Roman violence, physical violence. It's truth against lies. It's that kind of confrontation. It's holiness against compromise, faithfulness against idolatry. And importantly, in Revelation chapter 2, that sword is aimed first at the church. Judgment begins at the household of God. That's not cruelty, it's holy love. This reminds me a bit of what the Apostle Paul says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. He says, husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or other blemish, but holy and blameless. So the goal of Jesus is for us to be washed and blameless as a church, a bride that can be presented to him without spot or wrinkle. And this war that he's waging is a cleansing of our sin with his very word.